welcome to the second edition of our Cappers Catch-Up, the new feature here at Featherstone Rovers. It's me, Jaffa, and we've got Connor here as well, and we're joined today with two very special guests. We've got our head coach, Paul Cooke. Thanks for joining us, Paul. And Rocky Hampshire's here, fresh from his commentary debut on FRTV this week. So, very similar format to last time. We're just going to have a chat between us, selves, guys. So, I think I'll start with the elephant in the room, and I don't mean me there. I mean halfbacks at Featherstone Rovers. We could be talking for a long time.
Yeah, well,
situation, Paul.
Listen, we're struggling in that area in terms of that. Listen, the deadline's passed. We've got what we've got, and when Ryan gets injured at Doncaster a couple of weeks ago, Callum Turner steps in, and lo and behold, he's waited probably 8 weeks for an opportunity to play, and then he goes down at the weekend, so he'll miss the rest of the season as well. Benny Reynolds decides to be a dickhead and abuse some officials, so he's likely to get a sanction for that. We hope it's not too serious, but I think we're in a better position in terms of mentally than we was at the beginning of the year, so it won't be an excuse for us to lose games. It's as simple as that. We've got to go out and perform better, and we'll see where we're at this week against Oldham.
And for you, Rocky, obviously on the sideline we talked a lot on Sunday in commentary about your injury and where you are and where you've sort of come, your journey, shall we say, this year.
Yeah.
What's it feel like deep down to be in the situation you're in right now?
Devastated, if I'm honest. I was so obsessed with coming into this back end of the season with playoffs. Got my body right, lost a little bit of, brought my weight down because I wanted to run at the defence more coming into this last bit of the season, and then that happened. So yeah, I was really upset after the game, but I had my time upset, and now it's just time to crack on with it and get better, I suppose.
And the group of lads around you, obviously at Doncaster on the day, you was visibly upset, obviously, with the situation. What's the squad been like?
Well, they're good out there. They're obviously really good and got a lot of messages straight after and that. And you know, I spent a lot of time in hospital a few days after, getting scans and surgeries and that kind of stuff. So I had kind of a few days off and then came back in for the Winners game and saw the lads then. So, you know, as always, when people get injured, you get around them and just check on how they are. You can't obviously do much for them, but you just let them know you're thinking of them, and that's what the lads did.
And you're also using your experience, aren't you, with the halves and the rest of the players as well, whilst you're out not playing?
Yeah, I was obviously trying to help Callum a little bit last week, just not technical, just said just run the ball more, just be a bit louder, run the ball more, and he did in that game. And like I said, I give him man at match on the commentary just for doing that and making a few breaks and setting a few tries up. So I'm not sure who's going to be playing over the next few weeks, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm qualified to give Cookie advice. So.
Oh, jeez. Listen,
there's plenty of advice out there.
It is what it is, you know, and we're going to be missing some big players for us at the back end of the season, which is not ideal, but you know, we are where we are, aren't we? And we've got to do our best to win games and go about that the best way. So we might tweak a couple of things in terms of when we've got the football in hand and who we play there and why we play them there and then where we attack from. So
I think you touched on it last time on Sunday after the match. Graham did the interview a few weeks ago saying how healthy we were and how the rugby gods sort of playing against
that as well. I did a podcast with James Dayton the week before saying my body's great and
yeah.
I've come over all these injuries and then
that happens.
And then I end up with loads of stitches in my eye and a broken arm, so I'm just not going to talk anymore, mate. I'm just not going to stop.
Yeah, I'm going to stop it.
We sat here Tuesday night before Sunday against Oldham.
Yeah.
Do you know who you're going with in the halves on Sunday, or are you still mulling over?
No.
Is that set in stone?
Yeah, we know what we're doing. We know what we're doing. Obviously, tonight's a fix-up session for us, so the players have just gone out generically and trained tonight. There's been no information on Oldham as yet. We put the review of Sheffield to bed. We thought it was a poor quality game at the weekend, so it's no good trying to kick players while they're down at the end of the season. You know, we are where we are and we've got to try and build them up. So we know where we're going with our team at the weekend. We know exactly who's playing on Tuesday, which is not normal for us, if I'm honest. We didn't pick the team until last Friday for Sheffield, so the team's almost done in terms of who's playing where, and what we've got to do is sit down and have a look at Oldham and where we can go after them a little bit, and where we play from with only one genuine half in Ben Reynolds this week. So Yeah, it's a challenge for us, but it's an interesting challenge for me. You know, you've got to try and overcome obstacles and bumps in the road, and when you're missing players like Ryan and now Callum, you know, how can you tweak it? It's a challenge for us, and one that the coaching staff are all on board with.
Talking of those obstacles, obviously for this Kappa's catch-up, it's great for the fans to see what's actually going on behind the scenes. Last week, first episode, we had a couple of fans sat exactly where you guys are, and who proper spoke from the heart of what Featherstone Rovers means. Okay, what goes on behind the scenes for the fans in terms of that preparation into a game? What's just a brief talk through without giving too much away, obviously. Just in a game day week, in a game week.
Yeah, so obviously when you finish the game, obviously the physios are straight on to any injuries. We then get updated on a Monday with regards to who we've got available for training and when they possibly could be available. So obviously Ryan's now got a line for him in red, so he's not going to be back for
red line, eh?
Well, until he sees the surgeon tomorrow and he gets it re-x-rayed, and then they give him a rehab plan. So there's a number of players that will come in on a Tuesday that are too sore to train, so or have got a slight injury, so we'll leave them off it. And then Thursday's our big day. Usually we do an attack and a defence video, so we try and get it all into one, so we can go out and practice with players in the right positions on what the opposition are going to throw at us and what we need to throw at them. And then Friday's a polish up, really. The staff are redundant, if you like. We fire it over to the players mostly. And that's something I alluded to at the beginning of the year about the team needs to be self-sustained. It needs to be self-run, and when you've got players like Ben Ryan and Caleb and Danny Addy and the experience that we've got in the team, you don't need to coach them boys, you just need to manage them and let them go and play and have trust in them to go out and play. So the players obviously have an input as well, you know. So I always say it's no good me asking Ryan to play a specific player if he's not comfortable doing it. So he can then come to me and say we don't want to do that, so we don't do it. Again, it's just for us as a staff, it's about maintaining the players and managing the players and giving them the tools that we feel they'll need, but then they bring their own ideas to the table as well. So Friday's a polish up, and then Sunday we usually go out and mess it all up.
Obviously we feed off each other, don't we, through the season, and obviously there's black and white where Cooke says this is non-negotiable, and that's what happens, but you know, all the best teams come up with ideas together and work together with different opinions. And
I think that came out on Sunday again in the commentary. It was good to hear. You were calling the plays. We actually joked about it, didn't we?
Yeah.
You were calling the plays who's getting the ball next and things like that, which is great to hear, because that shows the cohesion between the boys out there. How's that from a playing point of view?
Yeah, it's kind of things run the same. Or as halfbacks, you kind of should know everything what's going to happen in the game or what should happen, because you're directing and you're wanting the teams to get to certain points or do certain carries or certain plays or whatever, and because you are the brains of the team pretty much. So, and if attack breaks down, it's on you as an half. It's your fault, I suppose. So you've got to be pretty.
I've got to put you on the spot a little bit here with him sat at the side. How good is it though having someone with this experience as your coach?
Exactly, like I said, I've said it before. I said it to James Dayton last week that Cookie just guides us as an ex-halfback so much that he also gives us freedom as well. And Cookie knows that halfbacks need a little bit of freedom to express themselves. But like I said, there's black and white where Cookie says this what needs to happen, and you know, like I said, we'll work together and feed off each other.
And he still keeps dropping hints saying he's putting boots back on.
Yeah, I think he should.
It's transfer deadline.
Listen, this club can't afford me. And there isn't a club in the world that could afford me. This is not for love nor money that I'm putting any boots on. It's interesting with the two halves that are the starting halves for us. They're two very different people in terms of introvert, extrovert, in terms of, you know, what this kid trains really hard. Ben Reynolds is very different. He comes in to get away at times, but both have some really big qualities, and it's just about giving them freedom and managing them to be able to go and play. And I can't be hypocritical in terms of, you know, when I played the game, the best coaches that I had allowed me to play, and just allowed me to run the team. So I've got a couple of on-field coaches that I can rely upon when they're playing, and Callum fits into that as well. You know, last week I agree with Rocky. I thought he was great in the second half. played a little bit away from the line for us, and then we got a message down to him to take the line, and then he makes that clean break.
Yeah.
It's no good, because Callum's not a natural half. It's no good trying to overtrain him. He can only do what he can do and what he's comfortable with doing. It's just a couple of pointers for him, and on the flip side of that, you got Ben Reynolds last week who'll run around, missed a kick to drop the ball, and ends up getting sent off with frustration, and he needs a little bit different managing, and so yeah, it's fascinating for me in terms of players and different personalities.
Rocky, that podcast you did with James Dayton a couple of weeks back, he asked you about, he says, go on, stick your neck on line, who's the worst trainer? Well, I'm going to flip it. I'm going to say, who is the best trainer you've trained with? Because Cookie were talking there about you and Benny being completely different. Yeah. Who over the years of your playing do you look at and think he's a good trainer, even better than yourself?
I think so people train different. Like Cookie says, Ben gets himself just ready for the game and then performs. Like some people are like that. Like, at Wigan, Bevan Friends, Sheffield, in the gym there wasn't throwing heavy weights around and that kind of stuff. But as soon as they got on field, just trained so hard on the field of the rugby side of it, and then in meetings all the information they give out and explain why they did certain stuff and what the team should be doing. So it's hard to say who's the hardest trainer, because sometimes the hardest trainer isn't normally the best player either. Yeah. And the worst trainer isn't the worst player. Some people who don't do win fitness end up being the best player. Evan French, not the best in fitness, end up getting the Man of Steel that year. Do you know what I mean? So it's like everyone's different, but I don't really know. There were a few like last year at Wigan who took it really serious, everything, food, training, and that kind of stuff. But to nail one down, it's pretty tough.
What were it like? You not playing much at Wigan over the last couple of years, and seeing Jay Field and Bevan French in wearing those shirts.
Yeah.
How did you view those couple of years at Wigan where you were not getting much game time?
Yeah, not great, if I'm honest. Really not great. 2023 I came back from an ACL and I had 2 really good games coming back, and then I think Jay Field come back from an injury and I just couldn't get in the team for the rest of the year. I got 40 minutes in September, from May to September, and didn't play. And then I had options to leave and go elsewhere for bigger cash, I suppose, and more game time, and I just thought I'll stick around one more year, see what happens. Played a few games at the beginning of the year, got a few man of match performances, and then I got a knee injury and ended up playing through that all year, and it just was the worst thing I could do. And then I ended up with no club at the end of the year, and then a broken arm and a few injuries, and your career can soon flip on its head. Getting offers, getting man of matches at the beginning of the year, play with a knee injury, and then nobody really wants you because you're not performing. So that was tough, because I was missing out on games and I wasn't fully performing. So I waited a long time to get games and ended up having to play injured, and I couldn't express myself, and it was really tough to deal with, and I've had to rebuild my career, my life back up, I suppose, from that.
How long did you have from leaving Wigan to joining Featherstone? I think did he come in, was it
March, I think.
March time.
Yeah, so I had 4 months off of
That's a fair chunk then, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and I wasn't knowing when I was going to be fit. It was the hardest thing to say to clubs. Are you interested? When's he fit? I don't know. As a business side, you're thinking, why would we sign him? And then when I got a number of when I was fit to Fev, that's when I got interested and got signed. So yeah, it was really tough.
If I'd have had my way, I'd have got him way before that. I'm trying to, because one thing I do know about Ryan, having coached him in the past at Lee, is the type of player you're getting. I also, fate, if you like, fell into place when we had 4 halves at the beginning of the year, and then we have none for 8 weeks. And then you bring Ryan in, and the unrest starts with the supporters, where, what have we signed this kid for? He's not even fit. But it's not what he did in the 4 week, the performances that he gave. It's the 4 weeks leading up to it when he first came in, about how we flipped the group from the mentality we had at the beginning of the season, which was we was trying to get into a different way of coaching and a different way of the playing group managing itself. So Ryan added to that as well. So it was an easy one for us, a really easy one, because I know what I'm getting with Ryan in terms of performance. I've obviously been over to Wigan and seen them train as well. He doesn't get much game time, but they made him a better player Wigan, and then players alongside him made him a better player, which allows him to go away and be a better player and wherever he goes. So it was an easy one for us to sign him, regardless of how long it took him to get into the team.
And do you put a lot of that change in form through the season down to that off-field stuff as well, Cookie, rather than just the on-field
What,
stuff?
in terms of
the way the season started to where we sort of flipped that coin and started performing differently. There's a lot of that done off the field rather than on the field.
Well, the penny drops eventually with the players, and they can't. One thing they couldn't get away with is disrespectful and you know, not turning up. You know, all of the non-negotiables for us are always there. But I thought the team needed to express itself more, and we needed players to come out of the shell, and Ryan helped that. So. You know, it's not the best group in terms of when you sit down and do a video with them, they fire loads of information at you. Whereas, you know, Ryan's come from an environment which was very much self-run as well, in terms of the players decide what they want to play because they are that good. So that comes out in certain videos. So at the start of the season, it was asking the players questions that you wanted answers to and putting it specifically on them. But the difference between the team now and from then is they express a little bit more. So you know, I often joke about it. I'll stay here all night. If nobody gives me any information, I'll stand here all night, and I'll stand in front of them all night. I want them to self-run. You know, so tell me what you want to do, and I will help you do it. You know, so for argument's sake, we don't do 3 days on the trot. So when we play on a Saturday, we usually train Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then have to play Saturday. Or when we've played Saturday nights. So I think there was Toulouse, or we played Widnes here last week. Yeah. So the players came to us and said, we don't want to do 3 nights on the trot, it's too much for them, you know, the part-time players. So we canned a night for them, you know, because you can't ask players to do stuff and then they'd say that they're not going to do it, and then it goes out and reflects on the field. So it's a pleasure to coach a group, it really is, and the coaching staff are a pleasure to be around. One thing is for certain, we've got to where we are because we're a really tight group. You know, we don't spend the most in the division. We're not full time like Toulouse, but we certainly give everybody a run for our money.
I suppose that leads us on to bigger questions about the game at the moment rather than just Featherstone Rovers. Yeah. Interested in getting both your thoughts on this. We asked the same question to the fans last week. Obviously with the IMG, with a new structure potentially put forward, 14-team Super League. We'll come to you first, Rocky. What's your sort of initial thoughts on what's going on in the game at the minute?
I think 14 teams is the right thing to do. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Salford. So maybe 3 teams go up. Who knows who that's going to be? But it's just that I think just the worry with the champ, what's going to go on with the champ joining.
What next?
I just don't think it's going to be the right thing to do. There's going to be some blowout scores and that kind of stuff. And I feel like the champ's been very exciting this year. We've played at Wembley, obviously. We went on that run, played at Wembley, and we're coming into the playoffs to hopefully win a grand final. And you know, that's what I was so obsessed with. Is coming into this playoffs. Can Fev win a grand final? That was the only thing in my back of my mind. Earn money for the club. Can the club then go up? You have to ask the question of that. And
when you were making that decision to come to Fev, is that the things you were thinking? Yeah,
I didn't want to just come just to get paid and that's nice, getting paid money when I wasn't getting paid, to then to get a wage job. I want to play for a purpose, and you know, Wembley was the first one, and then after that it's all down to the playoffs. Is what I was so obsessed with, of how we were going to win the grand final. My personal job, what was I going to do to help us win?
You can see why we wanted him in quickly, can't you?
Just
with his answers now. Yeah. You can see why it didn't matter that we was paying him when he wasn't on the field, because he helped change the mentality of the players as well.
Yeah.
You know, the coaching staff tried to beat him with a big stick at first. That worked for so long, and then the turn. You know, eventually you just see him turn. I thought the Oldham semi-final was a massive result for us because of the performance that went alongside it. That was a real turning point in our season, as well as the Bradford home game where we got hammered. I think I stood there and said, this has to be the last time we sit here, and we obviously got a couple of halves back the week after. And I did say, you know, I keep saying it with you in interviews, Connor, I hate to say I told you so, but I did tell you so, that when you get quality players in key positions, then your season can turn very quickly, and we've gone on a 10 out of 13 run, which is commendable from the players.
How big was it for those players that were filling in the house to get players like Rocky and Benny back? You know, I'm not talking Caleb and Dan, who were doing it tough at the beginning.
Yeah, and that's where I defend the players, because, you know, don't throw pelters at players that are trying the nuts off. You know, I can't cop that. You know, I'm the first to go in hard on the players when they continually make the same errors. But you can't ask a 13 to play 7 when he's not a 7 and expect him to play to the level of a Ryan Hampshire or a Ben Reynolds or a Callum Turner, because they're not put in them positions often enough in games, because they very rarely fill in. So
Mel, you were not playing 7 this week.
So
Speak for yourself.
So I mean, it's easy for me to sit here and say that I did know the season. I remember doing a fans forum here, and they asked me if the top 6 was out, and I nearly fell off my chair. I thought, we will win every game. That's how we believe. You know, Ryan's. We will go to Wembley. We will win the playoffs. We will get in the playoffs. And, you know, that's just the mentality of the group. So, to go back to your original question about the game, I find it baffling that we don't know whether it's going to be 14 teams or not, because they've said it will be, and then they've come out and said it might not be. So again, we've not said. I think it will be 14 teams, and I'm okay with it being 14 teams in Super League to stop the luck fixtures and everything they want up there. What's the real interesting line at the end of Nigel Wood's statement last week was, winning the Betfred Championship will still remain a key element of being promoted. So I want to know what the other key elements are. I want to know where we're going, because I spoke to a CEO at another club last week as well, and he said, we're going to put in for it and we're going to learn from the lessons of the criteria. So I said, but the criteria will change in 12 months. So you're learning lessons on something you don't know about the following year. IMG was an 11-year period. We're going to get rid of it after 2 or 3 years. Yeah. You know, so what are we learning on, and where are we going?
Do you think whatever route we go down, we need to stick at that for a certain period of time?
Well, you say that, Colin. Listen, I played in Super League when there was a franchise system and 3 years no relegation for the Catalan Dragons. So it doesn't matter what they decide. They will change the goalposts if they want to change them. So it's really difficult for a club to plan. And that's what winds me up a little bit in terms of the game and not allowing clubs enough time to be able to prepare. Because if you don't get it right, it can spiral your club out of control very quickly. Now, how many teams have we had go up that have hit financial trouble or that have spiraled? We was at Lee when they went up and got promoted. We won 7 of the first 11 and then couldn't win a thing, because Super League teams go like that, and then Lee started dipping, and then they stayed and go up a level. So, you know, and they were promoted from a middle 8 system. So there were 7 fixtures at the end of the season to gain promotion. They got promotion, but then by the time they're in Super League, then they're looking at players that are at the bottom of the barrel, if you like, in terms of haven't been picked up then. So you're trying to plan for a Super League season, and that's what's difficult about us for next year. What are the other elements? Can we be promoted? When can we be promoted? For what system can we be promoted? Is it first past the post? Is it at the end of a playoff system? Is it a middle 8s? Is it just replacing a team with gradings? Because all of them systems have been used, and we still don't know which one it's going to be next year.
No.
Okay, two questions on that. Number one, you've already been asked in the media about Salford, for example, and the honesty. I think your answer was, we want honesty. Is that the same from the RFL?
Yes.
We want honest.
Yeah, it's the same now. Tell us what's going on. Listen, they know I know who's going to be promoted. So the game can't keep a secret. The game can't keep secrets. It's as simple as that. Yeah. No, but what they are doing is telling us what format we're going to have. We're going to have a 21 league next year. We're going to play the top 10. The top 10 teams will play each other home and away, and then there'll be other fixtures on top of it. What's at the end of it? They've just changed last week the League 1 and bottom 4 of the Championship playing off.
Yeah,
in the middle of the season.
No, 2 weeks before the end. It's mental. It's not even the middle. So, you know, we've just got to make a choice and then be honest, and then everyone can get on board with it.
So, has Rugby League lost its way a little bit at the moment, do you think? Is that what we need? We need to get back on the horse.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm not qualified to be in them positions in terms of making decisions for the game. But it can't be made selfishly, can it? It's got to be made for the game as a whole. And every club matters. Every single club matters. So I just want to be, for me, the uncertainty is screaming out to everybody. So just give us some certainty of what's going on and when we can plan for promotion and relegation, and meticulously plan it, because you don't just make decisions to go and try and get promoted. And I've said it before in interviews, the blueprint from Wakefield is an excellent one in terms of what Matt Ellis did with the group when they was in the Championship last year.
And the current situation, does that enable you to plan for next year at the moment?
Well, we've made some signings and we've got people coming into the group, but I can certainly understand the owner Paddy and the board of directors wanting to know everything before they start ploughing any more money into it. It's just, why would you just chuck your pound notes away when you don't know what you're going to get? So, one thing I do know is whenever I hear anything and whenever we hear anything as staff, we relay it to the players, because I cannot be hypocritical again and say I would like honesty and then not be honest with the players, because they care and they worry about everything. So we've just got to try and alleviate as much of that as possible, and it would certainly help if we knew what was going on.
And is there a worry that those top-end Championship players, obviously with going to 14-team Super League, are going to be sort of picked up by teams who get that green light?
Well, that's the interesting one with the pool of players, because Ryan played at a top team last year and didn't get a look in, and he's a quality footballer. So it tells you the gulf in class, if you like, of them Jay Fields and Bevan Frenches, because they're exceptional players who earn marquee money.
Yeah.
Danny Richardson at Hull has been third choice to Taylor May. They took Ben Reynolds last year to be third choice. They've got third choice halves that are sat on a handsome payment there that are never going to get a game. So the two more teams going in, or three more teams going in, that are going to go full time, you're going to have players that are going full time that probably shouldn't, that probably haven't got the quality. Ryan could go back up to Super League and play for one of them clubs, no question. No question. There's plenty of players at this club and there's plenty of players in the Championship that can, but there's not a lot of them that will. There's not a lot of them that will and want to, because the planning for after, particularly at Ryan's age now and the stage of the career he's at, he's planning for after rugby. Yeah. He's planning for after rugby. He's not going to go back up to Super League level unless he wants to, and then he can. But it's going to be interesting where we get the players from.
Is that the same from a player's point of view?
I think so, yeah.
Obviously, in the group of players, people must talk about stuff like that.
I think there's going to be a lot of shift at the end of the year. Like, say 3 teams go, they're going to have to sign new players. They can't go up to the squads they've got. Yeah. And I think some people who play good in Championship, they'll go up to Super League and they won't be able to.
Be good.
We'll find out quickly.
They'll find out quickly. Some players come down from Super League and can't perform in Championship. It's a different game completely. And, it's going to be interesting who goes up and Cooke says he knows and that, and then.
When you say it's a different game, what's the difference? What's the main difference? Is it the speed? Is it the
It is. Rucks are slower. Rucks are slower. People are heavier. That's what I found. People are a lot heavier, so it's harder in contact to deal with. I find wrestle sessions here a little bit tougher than I do at Wigan because people are heavier. And it's hard to deal with, like when people are heavy, to control them and that kind of stuff. Whereas the game at Super League's faster and more skillful, but that's I'm only light and quick, that's my game, so sometimes it can be dealing with bigger bodies and players are in positions in the Championship where they won't be in Super League. Some people are lazy and they don't move, and you think there's going to be a gap there and they're in and you get cleaned out, and some teams make it awkward.
And there is going to be players who get found out that, aren't there? Some players will take that step up and get found out very quickly.
Very quickly. They'll be out on loan very quickly back to a Championship club. It's as simple as that. Because I agree with Ryan, what I found when I finished playing Super League and came down into the Championship was that players are in wrong positions all the time. Players, he shouldn't be there. Yeah. When you played at a level which is quick and clean, and that's the difference as well in ruck speed, because it's clean. Every player wants off because they want to just keep playing in Super League because they're super fit, and they can run all day. In Championship, you've got blokes that work on building sites, or plumbers, electricians, whatever they are, joiners, whatever they do. They come training and they don't eat like Ryan did at Wigan, and they don't get the food like from a chef like they did at Wigan. They're eating sandwiches on site, or whatever, bacon and tomato, whatever it is. And then they come training, and you've got to get the maximum out of them for a couple of hours, and that means slowing the game down as much as possible and the ruck speed. You've also got more inexperienced in terms of officiating in the Championship, because if there was that good, they'd be in Super League as well. We've got one going up there this week, Matt Glenn.
Seen that,
you know, the officiating's different. I think Carlos made a point at the beginning of the season. He said, "What's going on? They're all, that's an 80-second play the ball, and he's won the ruck, and they've gone back in again." And it's like that doesn't happen at top level. That doesn't happen at top level because it's all quick and clean. And what you're trying to do is make it so quick that somebody is out of position. Yeah. Whereas in Championship, it's that slow. Yeah. They're in the wrong position, and you get cleaned out because you're running out somewhere where you think there should be space.
Yeah. I think I've been in games this year, and I'm thinking this is so slow. Like, and I'm just stood there like. This just really.
Does that make it tough for you though? The fact that you know, because some people think, oh, Ryan Hampshire dropping down from Super League, he should, you know, should be finding it easy. He should be tearing him a new backside. And it's tough, isn't it, when it is like that?
It's not an easy league, and I got warned coming down that Championship isn't easy. No. Like it's not. It's teams make it awkward. You know, we've played back the other week. I personally turned up to that game thinking it was going to be easy. I'm not going to lie, and it wasn't. It was one of the hardest games of the year. We scored off kicks, and not really anything big, and that's how we won the game. And you know, I soon found out quick that it is really tough.
Well, we played at home to Hunslet. Hunslet, I think, have only won 1 or 2 games all year. They should have beaten us, yeah. That's the biggest blow for a game in the season, and we won. Yeah.
We were all saying we're not interviewing him this week.
It was a tough game,
I wish I was.
Well, I think we all was, actually.
Yeah, I think we all was still, yeah. We were just getting home from Wembley on the bus and just sobering up, I think, because there was drowning sorrows. And we did know there'd be a lull in terms of performance, but not that bad. Yeah. And they made it tough for us. They made it really tough for us. So, you know, if the bottom team can almost beat Featherstone, you know, and they've almost picked a couple of other teams, you've got to be at it. You've got to be at it. And you've got to have players that do drop down from Super League, that you can educate and that want to, you know, what Ryan said right at the beginning of the interview was really, really good from me. I didn't want to just come in and get paid. I want to come in and make a difference, and I want to make the Wembley final. I want to make the playoffs. You can't just bring anybody down that you think will make a difference. You've got to they've got to know that they've got the mentality to come and make a difference for very different reasons than just on field as well.
You mentioned having Rocky at Lee. What year was that?
2017.
So that's 8 years ago, isn't it? How much has it changed since that?
Well, when you grow up, you become more mature, and halfbacks become more mature. In terms of their understanding of the game and reading of the game, and you know, making it as simple as possible and what you say. So in 8 years, a halfback changes immensely. He played more on the wing than at half at Lee and fullback. You know, and he was, and I don't mind saying, he was much quicker back then, Ryan. Yeah. You know, he was lightning quick then, and the older you get, the slower you get. And fortunately, when I played, you can't coach speed into someone, you know. So I was never quick, so I was never going to lose it. So you can't lose what you never had, and in terms of what Ryan has got in terms of his ability to beat players and be quick, and he always had that. I think the biggest difference between Ryan back then and now is his maturity and the understanding of rugby league in terms of an IQ of a rugby league player. That's not, you know, general knowledge IQ. This is about understanding the game, and it's very, very noticeable and not different, his knowledge of the game.
Yeah, I'll probably jump on that as well. Yeah, I'm a lot better these last few years than what I was when I was younger. But and that's, and I spoke about my speed then. That's why I was gutted as well, cause against Doncaster. I felt like I was getting back up to that speed with the try I scored. Yeah, I felt like I'm getting that spark back, so I dropped a little bit of weight again, got a bit lighter. I felt like my speed was back. So
what were I saying in co-commentary about Lee? Can't remember.
Which one?
About
when you were
running
digging
with
him.
Ball,
When you were digging him.
I'll listen to that. Don't worry.
I'm glad you did.
No, but that's because I've seen him do that and score tries like that. We were talking about one of the tries he scored at Wakefield against OKR, I think it was, and you were taking them on, and I'm thinking, you can do this.
You want to take the line and take the line and take that. A bit like you were doing with on Sunday. With Callum,
There's nobody on the field that could have scored that try at Doncaster. And I went to Doncaster the week after as an ex-player, and I spoke with Carl Hall and Richard Hall, and you know, you don't stop that. You just can't. You know, that's not me coaching Ryan to be able to do that. That's a natural ability that only certain players in certain clubs or certain players in certain leagues, Championship or Super League, can score. It's as simple as that. But with all due respect, Ben Reynolds couldn't have scored that try like that. He's a very different player.
Yeah.
Looking on back at your career from coming through, do you feel, because you've played full back, you've played half, you've played wing, do you feel that had you had been a half back all your career, do you think that would have benefited you, or do you think playing different positions has helped you?
It has, yeah. I think I more played wing just to fill in for the teams and do a job, and it kind of was a little bit of a downfall having to play wing rather than my main positions, but I enjoyed playing fullback. I did a lot of games at fullback at Wakey. I had a few seasons there, and I've always been in and out different positions, and this is the longest run I've had of playing one position from. I had a few games at fullback last year, and I played really well in them, but I just wasn't consistent there. That's all. It's hard when you're not consistent in a position. You're chopping and changing, and this is the most consistency I've had in a long time.
I think it's very different as well. The positions, the position of half and position of fullback are hugely different. We always say that 1, 6, 7, 9 and 13 your pivotal players and all, but the pass selection as a 1 is very different to a 7. Ryan's biggest job is to look at the hips of other defenders and eyes of defenders while carrying the football in 2 hands, running if he needs to run, kicking if he needs to kick, and then passing short or playing out back or playing through the middle of it. Whatever it is, there's about 20 different decisions he has to make and 20 things that he'll be looking at. Like that, 20 things, and it might just be somebody's feet alignment are different to what he thought they would be, and that gives him an opportunity to run, or somebody's eyes are looking out when he first gets the football, so he's thinking that player's going to turn out, and or somebody's looking in on him all the time, or the first time he plays a pass, something happens outside of it, and you clock that, photograph it, and then it's a different picture next time you do it. Whereas the fullback's decision there is he's a support player, or then he gets the ball off Ryan and he's got a decision to make, but the 2 very different passes and selection of pass that fullback and half has to make. So we talk about them as pivotal players, but they're so very different, and that's why Caleb is a brilliant fullback and a makeshift half. Ryan is a brilliant half and a makeshift fullback. For me anyway.
Just going back, just to quickly touching on the subject of rugby league as a whole, what would you want to see next year? What would you want to see for the championship next year?
I'm not bothered about the rest of them. I'm only bothered about us. And with all due respect, I couldn't care less about the opposition. If they beat us, I'm not bothered about congratulating anybody else. I'm more bothered about what we do here and what we do to be right here. I honestly have enough to worry about with the 30 kids that we train, and what we're trying to get out of them and understand them. Which is what we all do as a staff. We want to understand our players' human sides as much as we want to understand them as rugby players. So I couldn't care less about the rest of the league or what happens and who goes up. I'd like to know so we can plan what we do here and get it right here.
And is that the same as a player? You would just rather?
Just focus on yourself in it. And, try and. I know what you're saying, like with what we're aiming for, with what is the game going towards, like what are Featherstone Rovers playing for next year. Obviously you need that, but it's just about us and building the club and building the team and getting better as players and coaches and whatever. But I think that's what's up in there. Is it what are Featherstone Rovers playing for next year?
Yeah.
What are they playing for? Promotion doesn't look like it.
Mm-hmm.
So then that changes the dynamic of everything, of how much money they spend, or do they build the club up and play with a lower budget and develop more younger players for in 2 years' time when you go up, and then you've got better players for a project, and coaches can spend more time. And
I think that's it. It's a project, isn't it? It's a project. That's what rugby league's got to be, a project now.
Yeah.
A project can only be planned for if you know what the project is.
Yeah. You know what that end goal is.
Exactly.
Well, the end goal this year, then, let's just come back to this year. The end goal this year, obviously, is first of all securing our place in that playoffs that starts this Sunday against Oldham. We've met Oldham a few times this year in some very big games. Again, I know I don't want to talk too much about Oldham, and I'm presuming it's more about us, is what you're going to say. But what planning goes into that this week?
Ryan's off to your specialist tomorrow, so I'm hoping he gets you all clear.
I did say to him last week.
I'm not bothered.
I did say last week you could have a bandage
I've got
around
Tipex everywhere. The goal for us is to win every week. It's as simple as that. And this week we play a team who are coached by an ex-half. They've got good players in key positions. They've got
and brought players
a good
in as well.
squad. Yeah, they've improved the squad towards the end of the window, if you like. But that doesn't mean we can't win. It's as simple as that. And what we have done and always will do is remain consistent in terms of what we do. So there's no panic. There's no, until after games when whatever it is, there's no panic. So we just got to remain calm and make sure that the players that are playing in positions that maybe they're not normally playing in are prepared enough or well enough, and the way we change and the way we deliver, what changes we make in terms of with the ball in hand and defensively. So I think for Ryan, it's just about him looking after himself and us making sure we stick around him, and he's highly unlikely not to play another game for the club this year anyway. So the same as maybe Carlos Tumabave is highly unlikely, and Callum Turner now is very unlikely as well. So we've just got to remain consistent in what we're doing and make sure that everybody remains consistent in what they're doing in terms of rehab.
You've had some decisions to make in the last couple of weeks in your three-quarter line, haven't you? In terms of squad selection and leaving some players out. Connor Wynn's been left out last week, and he'll be keen to impress and get back in the team.
Well, listen, he can only be honest with players. He came to me and that's why he was being left out. He didn't feel his defensive decisions on the edge at Doncaster cost him. He dropped 2 footballs in yardage, and it's just not acceptable. I'm not saying other players haven't done that. They have done that. Darrell's been out of the team, Gaz has been out of the team. So we remain consistent with our messages. Josh Hardcastle got left out of the team last week. He dropped 2 in yardage, against Widnes. So we just can't afford to keep making them basic errors. And it's, with all due respect, if you haven't got another option, we was playing rubbish at the beginning of the year with 2 makeshift halfbacks. Who do you put in? If you go with another mate, but when you've got 2 halfbacks that are playing, even if they're not training consistent, but you've got square pegs in square holes there. Yeah. So we've just got to remain consistent with our messages as staff. And listen, Ian and Jed, I say this all the time, but I can't function without them two. I can't. They do so much that's unseen by everybody else, but the play. When we close them doors and it's our bubble. So they remain consistent with what they do. I remain consistent with what I tell players. I'm not one for pulling every single player and telling them why they're not playing. If they want to know, they can come and ask me. And if they do come and ask me, invariably they know they're going to get the truth from me. So, we left Sitter out when we put Josh Hardcastle in, because we felt we needed to carry Josh on the bench, because we had Bailey O'Connor and Callum Turner going into the team, having been so long out of the team. So Sitter could and should have probably played that week based on his form. But we made the decision to change the team because it was for the best of the bench to make sure we covered Callum, and so that's as honest as I could be with him. And he just shook my hand after it and said thank you. And we remain consistent with our messages.
Can I just ask you about Sitter? Because he had a period at the beginning of the year that was tough for him, didn't he? I think did he go 6-7 weeks without playing, Paul?
Well, he came to the club off the back of a syndesmosis injury, which medically we didn't do enough on, in my opinion. We didn't do our due diligence on his injury. He wasn't operated on, and 99.9% of syndesmosis injuries are operated on. So he's limping around a little bit all pre-season, and then this pitch is crazy, isn't it? Because it goes from a quagmire to a car park very quickly. When Brian came in, we had to get the fire brigade here to water the field or whatever. So Sitter was behind the 8 ball, and with all he's in the twilight of his career, isn't he? And so we left him for 8 weeks or so and gave him another pre-season to try and get him up to some kind of fitness and to help him get over his ankle injury as well. So it's been a tough year for Sitter. It's been a really tough year for him. But one thing he's fantastic off the field. He's absolutely brilliant. When I talked about bringing Ryan here and helping change the group, Sitter kicked the staff. No, not kicked the staff. He asked us if the staff would leave after the Bradford game, after leave the changing rooms. And he led a meeting with the players, I believe, about change of culture and change of what they do. So he's a big driver of that change in our off-field activities and the way we respect the opposition and each other, because he's a very, very good guy.
it's good. It's good to know. It's good for the fans to hear this type of insight. So I thank you for this tonight. As we say, we're pushing along towards the back end of the season, and the goal is still there. We're going into them playoffs, and we're going to be there. And we're gonna see how far we can go. That's
Ryan's goal is to play them.
Yeah.
No, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I know he's doing everything he can to play, and I know that everybody's doing everything they can to prepare as best they can to help the team play. Carlos is doing his working his nuts off in that gym to try and get back on the field, and he's just had his wrist fused, hasn't he? And he's struggling to rotating a little bit. Having had a conversation with him tonight, so we just got to keep checking in on him and making sure he's okay, making sure Ryan is trying to help everybody get back on the field, and then, you know, if you're not in the team helping everybody that is going to play that weekend, and then if you are in it, trying to stay in it.
okay. Last little question then on the squad then for next year. You've already mentioned, obviously I'm not going to give any names away probably, but where are we sitting? Are we in a good place for the fans? Are we in a good place moving into next year?
Yes, we are. Yeah. I think we the last time we looked, we've got something like 22 players that have got contracts agreed, and I'm not sure how many of them are new. We've obviously got Connor Barley from Hull KR who's joined us now and for contracts for the next 2 years as a development player for us. And there'll be a couple more of them, and there'll be a couple more senior players that we bring in. So, the very first week that Paddy and Martin asked me to take the job, and was the very first recruitment week in week 2 of the season. So, you can imagine what I'm like. You know, can we meet on Monday?
Like to be flying on wall in them conversations.
They sat down with me and they didn't have a clue. No, why so early? Why not? No, let's get planning. So we identified some players that we wanted to bring into the group. We identified some players that we want to bring in, as well as that will improve what we believe will drive even more improvement off the field as well. So there's some exciting times.
Super. Fantastic. Well, lots going on still here at Featherstone Rovers. Of course, the big game this weekend against Oldham. Make sure you come down and support the boys. These guys are here tonight. They are so committed to still making this happen for you guys. So please be here on Sunday for the game. Also, this Friday night we've got the Blue Wall Voice event happening here in the clubhouse, the quiz night. So please get yourself down. It's just a £1 entry. And you get a free chip boy, so I'll be there.
I'll be there as well.
Get your ticket in advance, obviously, with the reduced capacity at the stadium at the minute. So buy your tickets now, and we'll see you all on Sunday to hopefully cheer the boys on to a victory.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.